The genre of my film is horror with the subgenre of psychological horror and stalker and slasher. I have analysed two horror films, Scream4 and Halloween, which share the same genre. I looked at their website posters and trailers to make sure I had similar conventions. I analysed the Scream4 and the Halloween poster and the other posters in the slasher and psychological horror genre. One thing I noticed on all of them is that the title is placed at the page underneath the main image. I noticed this was a genre convention. I decided to use this convention and place my title at the bottom third of the poster. Another convention that I saw throughout the poster I analysed is that the tagline was situated at the top third. My tagline is "There is something about Katie." My tagline went against the genre convention, Halloween and Scream4's tagline, as the tagline for Halloween is "Evil has a destiny" and the tagline for Scream4 is "New decade, new rules." They both tend to tell a narrative about the background story rather than the antagonist itself. However, I went against this and decided to have my tagline tell a narrative about the antagonist by mentioning her name. There's something about Katie. This creates enigma and mystery for the audience. I use this convention I also develop conventions by placing my tagline at the bottom half of the page. The main image is a medium close-up of my antagonist. I decided to use these conventions that are shown on Halloween and Scream4, as these both have the main image of the antagonist. However, Halloween has a long shot of the antagonist, but after looking at other films I noticed that Halloween may be challenging the conventions. The image on my poster and the posters I analysed focus on the narrative of the film, as they introduce the antagonist as the main character and it creates an enigma code, which was theorised by Roland Barthes, as he said it helps move the narrative along. In the posters I analysed, the antagonist is behind a mask. I challenged this by not using a mask, because it didn't go with my storyline. However, the image still creates an enigma code due to the mystery of the girl antagonist, as it lets the audience question who is she and what does she want. Also in the posters I analysed, they use men as their antagonists, but I chose to go against this, as it also creates negative narrative and enigma to the target audience, as they have never think a young girl would be antagonist. It theorised the syntactic and semantic theory. The syntactic elements are shown through my dark background, as this represents night, and night is a generic convention of horror films. Also, the dark background creates an enigma suggested by Roland Barthes. The semantic elements are shown through the iconography hospital gown that the antagonist is wearing, as this signals there is something wrong with her, but the audience don't know whether she is mentally or physically ill. And also this shows the genre of psychological horror, where Scream4 and Halloween show their semantic elements through the iconography of the mask. Claude Levi-Strauss suggested the binary opposite theory. This is shown on the poster through the conflict of the dark black background and the white of my text. The darkness symbolises mystery and scariness, whereas the white symbolises vulnerability and innocence. I made a countertype of the typical antagonist by using a girl, whereas in most horror films it's a man who is the antagonist. I chose to challenge these conventions as I wanted to do a film that is different, and I wanted to do something that the audience has never seen. I developed conventions by using a different typography to the one used on the posters I analysed. The Halloween poster I analysed used a bold block typography, and so does Scream4 poster I analysed, whereas on my poster I used a sans serif font called Optimus Princeps, and I also use this for all my text on my poster. I have made my film viewable and accessible on social networking sites such as Twitter and Facebook. Onto my poster I added a hashtag which is used on Twitter, #Deviant, and a Facebook logo and Deviant next to it. This will open my film out to a wider audience, and also it will encourage customer interaction, as they will be able to access my website through these links, be able to get more information, exclusive feature, and enter competitions. This is conventional of all modern horror films, as they all have pages and links on social networking sites to enable communication with the audience. My poster has a house style of black and white. This develops the convention of Halloween, as it has a house style of black, orange and white, and Scream4 as it has a house style of black, red and white. The dark versus light conflict is shown through my house style of black and white. This supports the binary opposite theory proposed by Claude Levi-Strauss, as the black suggests the mystery and the horror side of the narrative, whereas the white symbolises the innocence of the narrative. The same films from my website, Halloween and Scream 4, as my poster. The image on my website is similar to the image of my poster. It is the same antagonist. Medium shot, my antagonist is in the right hand corner, and on the side is filled with a location shot of the damaged fence. This image shows Enigma code proposed by Roland Barthes, as the audience don't know the narrative behind the antagonist, and the Enigma is shown through the location shot as it creates mystery, as the audience will start questioning, where is she? As the antagonist is female, it challenges the conventions of horror films, as it's normally the male that is seen as superior, whereas the males are seen as vulnerable and innocent. The location shot that shows narrative to the audience could also be a syntactical element proposed by Rick Altman. My website challenges conventions, as on Scream 4 website has loads of little images and a faded image of the masked villain, and the Halloween also has a faded image of the masked villain. The mise-en-scène in the images would be the location shot of the broken down fence, which looks like she's broken through, which was taken in the back garden. I challenge conventions as I show location, whereas Scream 4 and Halloween doesn't. I used a black background from the image that was taken at night. The darkness has suspense and tension, also creates Enigma proposed by Roland Barthes. I decided to place my title at the top of the page. This is the convention I challenge, as Scream 4's title is at the bottom and Halloween's is at the side. This created a split decision, but after much consideration I decided to challenge this convention. Challenge conventions by putting my tagline, as the films I analyse don't feature their tagline on the website. I decided to put my tagline underneath my trailer to tell some of the narrative. At the bottom of my website I placed the building blocks and the release date. The release date is in slightly larger text than the building block. This is to draw attention. The block and the release date are important pieces of information, as this prevents the audience searching for it themselves. At the top of my website, underneath the title, is a navigation bar. This is a hyperlink to pages on my website. The navigation bar is conventional of all websites, and it enables the reader to navigate around the website easily. This is a convention I developed, as Halloween's navigation bar is horizontal, whereas the Scream is also a screen. The typography is the same throughout my cross-media package. The font, Optimus Princeps, and the colour have been kept the same, and this creates a house style. The films I analyse have kept their fonts and colours consistent through their cross-media packages. On the websites I analyse, they both feature links to social networking sites like Twitter and Facebook. This is to open up the target audience and encourage audience interaction. To follow this convention, I embedded links to Twitter and Facebook by using their logos at the bottom of my website. The narrative of my trailer begins with an equilibrium. This is a convention I use from Scream 4 and Halloween, as it shows normality. This is shown through location shots and a shot of a girl in a hospital bed, who we assume is not very well. In the trailers I analysed, I noticed that they bring in the disequilibrium around the middle of the trailer. This is a convention I've developed as I made my trailer non-linear, so my equilibrium and my disequilibrium is mixed. I noticed they show the new equilibrium. This is because it would give too much of the story away. I also challenge these conventions as I show an aspect of the disequilibrium at the beginning with the location shot of the hospital sign, which says mental hospital, which tells the audience that the girl is mentally ill. My trailer shows elements of the semantic and syntactic theory through the iconography of the hospital ground, which by the end of the trailer has blood on it and is ripped. This is a convention I challenge, as the two films I analysed both use the iconography of the mask. I decided to challenge this convention because I wanted my film trailer to be something different to what my target audience has may already seen. I also use the syntactical elements of Halloween and Scream 4 as the audience is made aware of the disturbance before the villains. This is a convention I use as it creates dramatic irony, which is a common convention. In my trailer, the female is represented as the dominant and evil character. This is a counter-tap, as in films I analyse, the women are seen as vulnerable and weak. I decided to challenge this convention and use a female as the antagonist to do something the audience has never seen, as it's conventional for the male character to be the antagonist and the killer. There is an overall mixed representation of women in my trailer, as they are represented as weak and strong. However, my antagonist is also female, which makes her appear strong and vindictive. Also, my antagonist also countertaps the stereotype of age, as the female killer is around 11 or 12, and 11 and 12-year-olds are normally seen as vulnerable and harmless. In the trailer, she is represented as evil and vindictive. This is a convention I developed from my Halloween analysis, as Mike Myers killed the first victim at the young age of around 10 or 11. The trailer represents the ideology that females aren't always what they seem to be, and also children aren't always what they seem to be. This is shown through the use of a young female character as my antagonist. Convention I use from the trailers I analysed is their use of intertitles. My intertitles fades in with a ghostly effect to suit the horror genre. The purpose of the intertitles is to tell the audience some narrative and also information about the film, like the website and release date, and also the intertitles create tension and suspense. The Halloween and Scream trailer I analysed both have long shots at the beginning of the trailer to create a storyline as it goes on, shots to get smaller and smaller, and this creates tension. This is the convention I used and decided to put longer shots at the beginning. Towards the end it speeds up. At the end of the trailer, the shots pick up pace at the disequilibrium. This creates a montage showing the recognition of the disruption. The use of the montage creates tension to the audience and shows the victim's emotion. In my trailer there is a soundtrack. There is one consistent piece of music throughout my trailer, and this is called Drone Low. There is an asynchronous sound of crashes and bangs near the end of the trailer called Impact Hit and Ambient Crash. This is conventional, as short loud sounds are used to create tension and suspense. This is a convention I used and developed from the films I analysed, as it's an atypical convention of horror genres.